You're listening to the Snob OS podcast, the podcast for Apple snobs. Hey, this is Nika Monford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
Yo, this is Terrence Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
And welcome to the Snob OS Show, the show for Apple snobs where we talk all things Apple and then some. Welcome back, everybody, to this week's show. We definitely want to thank you for your continued support. Also, we want to give a shout out to our snobbists, which are our Patreon supporters. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter, you can head on over to patreon.com/snobOScast, and there you can become a patron. You can watch the show live, chat with us live, and also get some exclusive content. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into this week's show, where we're going to kick it off with the Lowdown, where we talk all things Apple. So preparing for the show this week, there's always news, there's always things to talk about, but let's be honest, most of the Apple news was surrounding WWDC, which kicks off next week, which is Apple's week-long conference held up in Cupertino at Apple Park. And ahead of the start of WWDC and the kickoff with the keynote, there are a couple of things that we think that you should know before we get into the full swing of events that start next week. First off, like I said, it's a week-long event, starts on Monday, June 10th, up in Cupertino at Apple Park. And what WWDC includes are workshops for developers. And I mean, it's a whole slate of events. And again, only a small handful, since the pandemic, are eligible to get in the lottery to get selected to go to the week-long events. They do offer the developer workshops if you're an Apple developer through the Apple Developer app and on the website. But the most thing that people really care about in the broad sense of WWDC is the keynote. And what this keynote does is basically sets the stage of what Apple is planning to do basically for the next year. So this includes typically unveiling Apple's strategy for what's coming up. New software is usually released and discussed. New hardware, if there's any, is usually discussed. And, as we mentioned before, Tim has hinted around AI being a big part of this year's WWDC. The other thing that I don't think people really talk about is the session that's also on June 10th that kicks off at 1 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. I don't think I said the Apple keynote. It kicks off on that Monday, the 10th at 10 a.m. Pacific. And the platform State of the Union kicks off right after that at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And usually what this platform, the State of Platform does is it goes into a deeper dive of the new features that are going to be included in all the OSs, whether it be iPad, iOS, Mac, tvOS, Vision, watch all the things. And also it covers new tools that are available for developers. The thing to note about the platform's State of the Union is that it's only for Apple devs, and you can only watch it on the developer app or on the developer website. In contrast, for the keynote, it's pretty much open to everybody, and you can watch it in multiple places like the website, Apple TV, and on YouTube. So the question is, what can we expect? There are, of course, lots of rumors, and a lot of the articles and things that I found for this week are rumor based. But what we do know, and what Apple has confirmed, is that we can expect to see new iterations of all of the main software, iOS and iPadOS 18, watchOS 11, macOS 15, even though we don't know what the new name is. And once we get here, we'll get into the deep dive or the highlights of what these new OSs are going to include. Now, there are rumors about Vision, a possible Vision OS 2, some AirPods, I think I saw people talking about. Again, all of that's rumors, and we don't really know. There's also this rumor that it's going to be a all software only conference, no hardware. So again, we won't know until we get to June 10th. But I did want to ask you, Brother Tech, is there anything that you are specifically looking forward to, or any like special, gotcha surprises that you think we might see?
No gotcha surprises, but I am looking forward to, and I've seen rumors that this will happen, the ability to see reminders that I have set up with a date and a time integrated into the calendar app. When I open up the calendar app, I want to be able to see any reminders that I have set a date and a time to in the agenda. So I can kind of see throughout my day, in addition to events, in addition to things that I've scheduled on my calendar, I also want to see reminders for that day that have scheduled for that day. I'm not sure why Apple has never done this. All of the other to-do task manager apps out there that's not reminders, that's not made by Apple, have this feature, but I've resisted from using them because I like how reminders is integrated into everything else I have Apple, right? So for that reason, I haven't adopted anything like Calendly, Todoist, a bunch of other ones, right? They all do it. So Apple is finally, based on a rumor mill, Apple is finally bringing that ability to be able to integrate reminders into your calendar views. So that's the only thing that I'm looking forward to into iOS 18 specifically, maybe with the addition of more action button functionality for those of us who have the iPhone 15 with the action button. It's still very limited. Now you can program one of the buttons for a shortcut, and that shortcut has multiple different buttons, which is what I've done. I've got the action button where I press it. I have set it up to where it connects. I can press the shortcut button, the action button. It runs a shortcut that gives me 4 other buttons that let me connect and disconnect to all the different Bluetooth speakers I have in my house. I have my car, which we talked about in the live show. I have like Sonos speaker that I carry around. It's about this big, the Sonos Roam speaker that I can take to different areas. And then I've got another old speaker that I use when I exercise. So the ability to be able to press that action button and open up a shortcut that gives me those different options is dope. But I'm Brother Tech. I'm willing to go in and do all that configuring, right?
When most people aren't willing to go and do that customization.
When most people are not willing to go through that customization. So all that to say, I'm looking for more out of the box button configurations for the action button.
I'm looking forward to, I think we've seen it kind of previewed already, but I'm looking forward to see it fully formed, bringing in basically kind of like the eye movement function from Vision Pro to macOS. I'm looking forward to seeing how that works, where you can basically control your devices, with that same eye movement that you can get with Vision Pro. So I think that's probably the biggest thing for me. And I'm looking forward to going to some of the sessions. It's going to be pretty tricky because next week during WWDC is also Atlanta Tech Week, and it's also the Render ATL Tech Conference.
Are you going to that?
So I went last year. I mentioned, I'm a member of the Gathering Spot, and they got us VIP tickets to the conference, which was cool. And I had a good time, met some great people. And I am in the market for a new job. So it's going to be cool to go down for that. And they always have like really dope events, outside of, even if you don't go to the conference itself, it's a lot of big sponsors. They have a lot of stuff, at Ponce City Market, at a couple of hotels. The event itself is held at the Apparel Mart. So that's on the Render side. And then at ATL Tech Week, a bunch of different other organizations that are members of, like Black in Tech, ATO Black, which is a part of the Goody Nation. You know, everybody is kind of coming together and just doing a bunch of things surrounding tech in the city. So balancing those two things along with WWDC. The good thing is about WWDC is you can go back and watch the sessions through the app after the event. So that's helpful. But there are a couple of things that I do kind of want to see live. So next week is going to be a busy but fun week. I'm looking forward to that. All right. I saw this particular story and I thought it was very interesting. And again, like I said, most of the stuff is about WWDC, but this particular excuse me, I don't know if he's considered a researcher or just an Apple enthusiast or a journalist. It doesn't really say, but he was able to, he meaning, I think it's pronounced Guilherme Rambo. He was able to basically find a new privacy feature that's in the M4 iPad Pro that Apple hadn't really announced to anybody. And it's always neat to see how people kind of dig into the different products and find things that maybe Apple isn't quite ready to say, hey, we got this, because they could still be working on it, or tweaks you read it could be not quite ready, but they put it on the device anyway and they make their updates. But this is specific to the, like I said, M4 iPad Pro, and it's a security feature. So if you remember with the iPhone, I think back with iOS 14, they added the sensor indicators, the microphone and the camera, little green and orange dots. Yeah. At the top of the screen or on the dynamic island, depending on which phone you have. And those sensors basically tell the user that your microphone is on and that your camera is on and that they're transmitting. And basically just a way to say, hey, you know, you may want to be careful with what you say, what you do, because someone has activated your camera, activated your microphone. Some app on your phone is using this. Yeah, has triggered this, is using this. And it's, you know, it's a way to just provide people with another level of protection, help you from bad actors trying to jump in and see some things, get on some things. So, you know, that was cool. That's important. People use it. And again, like I mentioned, it's triggered by software. Well, Guilherme, he found that there is some device support and the use of it's called what the green and orange indicators are called are SIL, secure indicator mechanism. But with this new feature that they haven't really talked about, it's the same for, you know, indicating your camera or your microphone is being used. But what the difference is with this feature is it's not a trigger from software, meaning if you open up Instagram or if you open Chrome or something like that, this trigger is based on the hardware itself and not the software. So it gives you another level of security that it's not dependent on a specific piece of software that's activating this. It's something in the hardware mechanism that says, you're on. And this basically is being made possible by something called Secure Enclave. And again, like I said, it allows the new secure indicator light to let the system know, hey, something's on, and it's not software based, it's hardware based.
And the reason why that is important is because people who can hack into your iPhone, into your iPad, into your Mac can use software to trigger or disable rather that light to where you can't see the indicator on, the little dots on, so you don't know that
your microphone or camera is transmitting.
Not the reason why, but now that Apple, this M4 iPad Pro is hardware, much harder to hack. So somebody trying to hack into your iPad to turn on your microphone, turn on your camera, they've got to hack the hardware, which is a whole lot harder than hacking the software.
Yeah, and I'm glad that he kind of brought this to light. Again, I'm sure Apple would have announced it anyway, but again, we don't know why they didn't. As I mentioned before, could be a myriad of things. But I hope right now it's only on the M4 iPad Pro. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that this translates to the other devices that have cameras and microphones, meaning MacBooks, phones, even like your watch has it doesn't have a camera, but it's a microphone. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that this this new secure indicator light with this secure enclave, I'm hoping that it, once it's fully formed, fully fleshed out, and fully ready, that it goes over to some of the other products as well. Because again, hackers are slick, man. They are crafty individuals. And, you know, if you block them at one turn, they're going to find a way to kind of backdoor it to get into another. And this just makes it even harder. And at this point, that's all you can do when it comes to bad actors trying to hack devices and software, because they're going to find a way. The goal is to slow them down and, you know, circumvent and prevent them from being able to gain access. And the harder you make it, the harder they have to work to try and go around it. So I thought this was pretty cool. I don't know if Apple feels the kind of a way that their maybe thunder was stolen with this guy announcing this. But I mean, make me more secure. Yeah. I appreciate that. The last story for the Lowdown. As you are the only parent on this here podcast, apparently there is a years-long parental control bug that allows kids to circumvent what's the screen time, the feature which basically allows parents to monitor or filter out what their kids can access. Because literally every kid, I mean, if they can hold their head up and hold an iPad, pretty much every kid you probably know has an iPad, has some sort of tablet, has a phone, or even has access to one. And basically what this bug does, it allows the kids to circumvent, like I said, the filters that are put in place. And they do this based on this article, the bug goes like this. It says kids can circumvent content restrictions by entering a specific string of characters into the Safari browser. Now, the bug itself is bad enough, but what I found even more interesting was that there were a couple of researchers that actually reported this bug to Apple several times. And Apple came back and said, it's not really a bug. It's fine. And then eventually, over what the article says, 3 years, they finally, came back and gave a definitive answer and said, this isn't a security problem. They told them to go to the feedback tool to basically log it. And now these individuals who reported this, so they did finally get a response back from Apple saying that a fix is coming in the next iOS software update. Were you aware of this bug?
No, I wasn't. Luckily, unbeknownst to me, I don't think my kids are that hard up to circumvent any sort of parental controls that I have on the phone, which I do. I have some parental controls specifically for my
you got kids.
Right, especially for my younger son, and for my two girls. I have the basic level, but thankfully, they're not, to my knowledge, trying to, figure out all the ways to circumvent all the stuff, because, we talk about what you can and can't do and why it's important and things of that nature. And, again, to my knowledge, they haven't been trying to circumvent any of that. So I haven't had this particular issue. It seems like if parents are that concerned, there are third-party MDM apps, which is what my specialty is. What I do when I'm not on the podcast is mobile device management, to where you can drill down even more and specifically get super, not to be redundant, but specific on what you can and can't do. So it seems like Apple has a history of saying, it'd be all right. It's fine. It's fine. Not necessarily just with parental stuff, but if you look through Apple's history, you know, time somebody brings a bug to them or anytime the internet is buzzing around this particular thing, Apple's not so quick to be like, hey, we hear your concerns. We want to let you know this is important to us. We are working right now to address the issues. We'll let you know when an update or fix is pending. That hasn't been Apple's track record. They're kind of like, you know, famously, you're holding it wrong. You're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It'll be all right. It's fine. And then all of a sudden, just like this story, oh, we've got a fix for that, which kind of acknowledges that it was an issue.
It was a problem
that they needed to fix. Right. So for Apple to not announce it, I don't know if it's the whole nobody apologizes thing. I don't know if, you know, Apple is like, I don't know, you know, there probably is something to the fact that people, since Apple is so popular, people who are looking to make a name for themselves are hunting or targeting Apple.
They're looking for something. It's something in there. They're the people who are looking for the needle in the haystack. Right.
Because for you to say, I've discovered this thing that Apple didn't know about, and they are pretending like it doesn't exist, for then Apple to turn around and then fix it, you know, adds that cachet to the fact that there's some of that. But more importantly, you know, Apple does have a track record of like, don't worry about it. And then all of a sudden
it's
fixed.
fine. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Which again, in and of itself is not necessarily alarming, but when you take that to parental controls and kids trying to circumvent that in order to see things that may not be suitable for them, especially with all the stuff on the internet nowadays, you know, parents,
be careful. Be careful when you look at the replies on Twitter, because God knows what you might see.
Yeah, Apple, I would assume I would have liked Apple to be a little bit more proactive with this one.
Yeah. Well, they finally have a fix. I'm assuming it's going to come out. It's going to be in maybe iOS 18, because this article, it all basically came from a report by Joanna Stern of the Wall Street Journal, who basically kind of dug into this. And again, like I said, the bug was reported twice back in 2021. So I presume that it's coming in the next iOS release. So this will be fixed. So these folks seem to be like, well, okay, it's going to be fixed. So yay. But, you know, you kind of blew me off before. So, but I guess as long as it's fixed, parents can breathe a little bit easier, because social media and kids, wow, it's a lot that goes on in this space. That's going to wrap it up for the lowdown. We're going to head on over to Second String, where we talk all other tech. Finally, a lawsuit I can get behind. We always talk about how Americans are so sue happy. Everybody wants to sue. I stumped my toe, I want to sue. You know, you looked at me wrong, I want to sue. But the U.S. Department of Justice has filed an antitrust suit against Ticketmaster and its parent company, Live Nation, for basically abusing their power. Because honestly, if you want to buy a ticket to anything, you pretty much have to go through Ticketmaster, Live Nation. Even going to smaller venues, you can't just go to the venue website anymore. You can't just go to the ticket, box office. You can buy third party if you go like to StubHub or GeekSeat or something like that. But the source of all of this, it starts with Ticketmaster. Everything flows through Ticketmaster. You go to Live Nation to buy something, it takes you to Ticketmaster. You go to a sporting event website, you go to the Hawks website to buy tickets, it takes you to Ticketmaster. Everything leads to Ticketmaster. Well, the DOJ has finally said enough, and we are going to bring up some litigation around this. So this was filed on Thursday in the Southern District of New York. And basically the lawsuit is saying Ticketmaster has had basically a stronghold and long-term exclusivity contracts with pretty much, like I said, all of the biggest venues, and music. It says specifically music venues, but at most of these venues, other things happen: football, basketball, whatever, soccer games or whatever. And so it's basically making Ticketmaster, like we said, the only place you can go to buy tickets for these events. And all of the fees and the charges that comes with using Ticketmaster. I bought tickets to Janet and Missy for July. I had the ticket price. Oh, I could do this. You get to the end, it's another $100 to $200 added to the base ticket price. And what the complaint from the DOJ is saying that they are not only serving as the conduit to buy the tickets, but they're also acting as the promoter of the events as well, and basically exploiting the relationship of, I'm the promoter, but I'm also the vendor that allows you to purchase these tickets. And they're basically saying, you're doing too much. You're not allowing for any other competitive service to come in and perform these services. And I want to say, I'm trying to find it in the article, they were saying it was using like some sort of coercion and fear to basically force people into to using the service and saying, well, if you don't use us, then,
well, yeah, because
we're going to poo-poo on you.
Well, not just fees for ticket goers, but the last part that you mentioned for the artists. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm an artist and I say Ticketmaster's fees too high, I don't know if I want to promote, or I don't want to use Ticketmaster as the vendor for my my fans to buy tickets, I'm gonna go to another one. Ticketmaster be like, all right, good luck finding a venue because we own all those through Live Nation.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then not on top of that, on top, in addition to that, artists hardly make any of the money okay, so let me back up. Artists are finally breaking away from labels. Mm-hmm. The labels was taking all their money, right? Yeah. So now independent artists are starting to say, I don't need a label. I can launch music whenever I want to. So now the music streaming services is like, all right, bet. We're going to give you a fraction of all the money. So artists got to work so hard to get to see any sort of marginal profit from streaming. So what artists do is, all right, well, I'm going to put the music out there and then I'm going to go on tour to make all my money. Well, then here come Ticketmaster and Live Nation's like, all right, we're going to get some of that as well. So the artists are fed up.
Yeah.
We've talked about Taylor Swift. I've seen artists on top of artists, and not just people singing music. I'm talking about people like for instance,
entertainers.
For instance, like if me and Nika decided to do a podcast tour and go to the different cities and kind of do our podcast live, Ticketmaster and Live Nation is coming for us. Like, all right, if we made some t-shirts, because another way artists make a whole bunch of money. Well, merch is merchandise. Yeah. Live Nation and Ticketmaster is like, yeah, we're going to get 30% of that. And the only way you can get out of that is you got to stand outside down the street and sell your merchandise. So it's almost like, or you just give us 30%, right? So it's like all of these people at the top are eating at these artists' income,
just
and
chipping away.
Yeah. And they are fed up. So one, I am surprised that they allowed Ticketmaster to buy Live Nation in the first place, right? Because it was a whole hubbub about them being a monopoly. And Live Nation, Ticketmaster, oh no, we're not going to do this. And fast forward to today, they're doing exactly the things that they promised they weren't going to do. Yeah. So all that to say, now that the artists are starting to speak up, because we as the fans have always been saying something. This is crazy. But, we keep buying the tickets. We keep going, right? The artists are finally saying, you know what? We don't like it. Y'all need to do something about it. And if they get enough momentum, similar to how they are leaving the labels, the record labels. Ticketmaster and Live Nation, all right, wait.
Why are you coming for us?
Because what we don't want to do is artists finally push away from Ticketmaster and Live Nation the same way they pushed away from the record labels. So again, now that the artists are speaking up, the Department of Justice, it's Taylor Swift, and Beyonce, I think to a certain extent, she's been creative in the past as trying to figure out how to get around this, and the only way she can do it is by going to these stadiums that have nothing to do with Live Nation. Now she'll go through Ticketmaster, but since we're talking about Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Live Nation don't own Mercedes-Benz Stadium, right? So Beyonce can go have a concert at Mercedes-Benz Stadium where the Falcons play, right? But little, independent artists can't be like, you know what? I'm gonna follow what Beyonce's doing. I'm gonna follow what Taylor Swift is doing. I'm gonna follow what Rihanna's doing, and I'm gonna have my concert at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Not happening.
Not you, babe.
So it's not so easy for every artist to follow that blueprint. Yeah. So, but it's nice. It's top down that the artists at the top are speaking out on behalf of and in favor of these smaller independent artists. So much so that DOJ is starting to take notice and is finally saying, yo, this is a legitimate monopoly.
Literally,
according to all of the speculations that highlight and list
Merriam-Webster's dictionary version
or
of monopoly
is Ticketmaster and Live Nation. It's like there is no second place at all.
There's nowhere else to go. Literally nowhere else to go.
And I mean, you could go to. There are some other options out there, but it's like there's no the venues are crappy because Live Nation owns all of them. There's no protection. So if like an artist decides to go one of these smaller outfits and people bum rush as far as fans trying to buy the tickets, the organization and it ain't
website
there.
crash, everything is
it ain't there because nobody's coming to them, so they don't have the ability to scale up. So finally, the DOJ is like literally just bringing the hammer, and I don't see a reason if this fails and Live Nation and Ticketmaster are allowed to go on as they are. It is a sad day.
We are screwed even more than we already are.
Not necessarily screwed because it's entertainment. At the end of it, it's disposable income. It's not a necessity. But at the same time, it'll just be sad that capitalism has taken over this much to where it's like it's hopeless that we could that competition, because we always say competition is good for the consumer.
Yeah.
But
not in this case.
Not in this case at all. if it's on, and it's just sad. And I'm hoping that the DOJ does the right thing and break them up. Now, again, after that, there'll still be Live Nation that owns all the venues, and there'll still be Ticketmaster that is the vendor. So, but there won't be that handshake. But I'm pretty sure there'll still be, it'll take
some
a while.
backdoor. It's one of those things where it's so big to break this up, to cut this symbiotic relationship. It's so complex and convoluted to excise these pieces. And again, capitalism, they'll find a way, even if they're forced, even if the DOJ is successful and breaks this up, and technically they'll be separate. Right. They already have these relationships. They'll find a backdoor, unfortunately, but it's one of those things.
But I was going to say that's a good, if you are a enterprising person, and you are
fill that gap.
You're reading the tea leaves and you're paying attention to what's going on. That may be an area for you to jump into. Now, it ain't gonna be easy. It ain't gonna be cheap. But, instead of developing the next app, instead of trying to develop the next Uber or develop the next
AI
or the next, Lord Jesus.
God, yeah, I'm so sick of it. And that's my domain, and I'm sick of it.
If you want to figure out something else, pay attention to this. Pay attention to how you can get in on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I really hope that the DOJ wins and we actually get some significant change when it comes to the way we buy our entertainment tickets. Time will tell. Hopefully, it'll be on our side. Next up is For the Culture, where we talk about things that we care about in our society, in our culture, whether it be tech, whether it be race, whether it be entertainment. We cover it all based on what it is we want to talk about. So last week we had a very lovely, nostalgic For the Culture, where we talked about the young kid from the Ron Clark Academy doing the dance for them being excited to get tickets to Black Panther, and he graduated from high school. So that was great. We laughed, we reminisced. It was a great time. Well, we have another graduation story, but unfortunately it is not a feel-good type of graduation story. So in the state, I think this is Wisconsin. Yes. In the state of Wisconsin, at the Baraboo High School graduation, in the middle of the graduation, the graduates are being called up, Cindy Smith. Let me come up. You shake the principal's hand, you shake your sister's principal's hand, and then you shake the superintendent's hand, and you get your picture, you move your tassel, and you go on and celebrate. Well, in this specific case, a young lady name was called. She got her diploma. She was shaking hands. Then all of a sudden, you see a white polo kind of fly across the feed and pushes the superintendent out of the way. The superintendent is Dr. Rainey Briggs. And what appears to happen is this father, who was a white man, of course his daughter is a white young lady, didn't want this Black superintendent, Dr. Rainey Briggs, to shake his daughter's hand. So in the middle of the ceremony, he bum rushes the stage, goes through all these other people, and basically assaults this superintendent so that he wouldn't be allowed to shake his daughter's hand. You could hear some of in the background. He's like, "Get your hands off me, bro." He's like, "That's my daughter." And then all of a sudden, everybody starts to swarm. The school resource officers, other people on the stage, and they eventually get this man off the stage, and they try to settle the students so that they can continue with the ceremony. Well, as you can imagine, this has blown up on Twitter. And I think it's also important to remind everyone that this Baraboo High School is the same high school where it was maybe 50 some odd male students who did the Nazi salute on the steps. And everybody was like, "Oh no, it's not that big of a deal. They were just goofing off. They were just playing." Fast forward to 2024, and you have this man, father, who thinks that it is his right to interrupt this ceremony, assault a man literally doing his job, and at the same time embarrass his daughter. You can see that poor child, she just standing there. She didn't know what to do. She kept looking at her dad. She was looking at the audience. She didn't know whether she should keep walking or what she should do. I think she finally got off the stage, and there was like a teacher consoling her at the bottom. All this is bad, right? But I bring this up to say, one, it just goes to show, if you were if you're a snobbist and you heard our pre-show, we talked a little bit about how people think that they have ownership of specific races of people. If they aren't centered in a specific scenario, they think that they can for someone to think that it's okay for them to get up out of their seat, because let's be clear, at any graduation is rows and rows of students in the front. And then the parents are either behind the students or on the sides, because they're usually in gymnasiums. To get up from his seat, walk past all of the students, that are waiting, that are seated, walk past all the students who are coming across the stage and down them to get up on the stage, put his hands on someone, physically push them out of the way and basically say, you're not touching her because that's my daughter. To think that's okay. To think that think that's okay.
So he thinks it's okay. And essentially he got away with it because, I mean, the internet knows who this dude is because I've seen his name being floated around. But the news was reluctant to out his name. So he's not necessarily...
Because they were protecting canceled. The daughter.
Right. In addition to that, he only got charged with disorderly conduct, which that's what I find strange because we are at a heightened sense of alert as it relates to high school shootings and the ability for people to come on campus, to come into the school and do nefarious things. You would think that it would be no holds barred, no three strikes you're out, zero tolerance. If somebody, a grown man, disturbs a event, a high school with children. I don't care if it's at a high school or not. We can't tell where this is. I'm assuming, like you mentioned at the top, this is a high school gymnasium. For the fact that this father to be able to walk up during this graduation ceremony
and nobody stopped him along the way,
and none of the teacher, the president, the whomever tried to help or anything. He was able to get up that far and push that guy away from the stage just for the point that I don't want you specifically, or in general, a black man, shaking my daughter's hand. The fact that he was able to get up that close, number one, in our heightened awareness as it relates to high school shootings and incidents happening at and schools in general, not just
and just violence in general. Yeah,
just violence in general. You would think they would have a heightened sense, extra security, extra whatever, or at least somebody to see that dude coming and be like,
how did they not see him coming? That's my thing.
And cut him off before he's able to get on stage, number one.
Because he has on a baseball cap and a polo. Obviously, he's not an educator because they have on like suits and stuff. So he doesn't belong.
Right. And in addition to that, in this heightened sense of awareness as it relates to high violence on school campuses, the fact that he only got off with disorderly conduct, I would think they would have sent a message and locked that dude up for at least a week or two and hit him with some harder charges.
Yeah.
The fact that just for if nothing, to send a message to say that's not what you're going to do. If you have beef with the superintendent because of whatever the case may be, that's your business. Do that personally. What you're not going to do is use your personal beefs or your personal preferences to interrupt or disrupt a high school ceremony when we're already growing numb to all these different violent things at high school. So I'm just not surprised, but at the same time, it's like, all right, take out the race. The fact that kids are getting shot up at schools, y'all should throw the book at him just off of that.
Yeah. And then when you do throw the race part in it, I'm sure as a black man in a leadership position in this particular part of the country, in this particular area, I saw someone who was talking about, it was like he actually expected some sort of racial issues because he's black, he's a superintendent, and most of the people there, panning around, it looked white. It looked like a very, white
it's Wisconsin.
Area. It's Wisconsin, right? So I think he already had race-related issues. I'm not gonna say he already was facing racism anyway, because of his role. And then the other part of this, while I understand that the young lady was definitely embarrassed, her moment was stolen, not only hers, but the other students who preceded her and who succeeded her, at that point, from that point on through the rest of the ceremony, I'm sure it was a buzz and, people's focus was taken from what they were actually there to celebrate, were these kids probably the biggest milestone of their lives to this point, graduating high school. But what I also noticed is in a lot of the comments, it was talking about how bad they felt for this young girl, which I agree. But there was very little conversation around this man being assaulted for doing his job.
Yes. Me personally, that would have been a little bit different. I would have been the same father that went on TikTok and is like, hey, baby girl, I'm sorry you had to see me whoop your father's ass, because that's going to damage you for the rest of your life. I'm sorry. I hope you seek therapy. I hope you seek help. I hope you
I'm gonna help you.
If you need me to, whatever the case may be, I'm sorry you had to see me, because again, like I said, if I'm the superintendent at a high school, if I'm a black superintendent at a white high school, and on top of that, we've got the whole, weirdness around school shootings and school violence
in general.
And then for this dude to walk up on me, he would have been body slammed, and I would have just
chopped in the throat,
and I would have just had to been okay with me losing my job.
Right, I'll find another one.
May be, the dude, the superintendent, he held restraint. All we can
which
hear,
black people are always forced to do, right, even when we're wronged.
Right. We don't get to see what actually happens. We can only hear, and we hear him say, hey, get your hands off me, stop touching me.
Get your hands off me, bro. Yeah.
He showed a lot of restraint, because had that been me and some dude walk up on me at a high school, I'm neutralizing the threat, Jack.
And he just walked up so calmly. Yep. And I'm like, did y'all not see him?
Yep.
How? And that's my thing. Like, how did this even happen outside of what actually happened? How did the staff, other people?
It's ownership. They didn't think that they wouldn't have million years thought this would have happened to their, community, their high school, their neighborhood, because it is, primarily of a bunch of people who share their interests, look like them, things of that nature. So this brother is the odd man out. Yeah. So he sticks out like a sore thumb. So for somebody to walk up and say something to him specifically, that's not necessarily out of the realm of possibilities for something like that to happen. According to the story, people have had previous issues or concerns with this guy being superintendent. I don't know if that's because of who he is or something that he's done. Even still, again, like
outside of all of that.
In addition, outside of all that, the fact that he was able to walk up that close in a high school ceremony, it should be alarming.
Yeah. And it should be a much bigger penalty. He should never be allowed to come on that campus or to any activity facilitated by that school.
He should spend 60 days in jail and be charged or fined $20,000.
Yeah.
And should be ousted on the internet and canceled. Lose your job.
Yeah. Yep. And the fact that it just goes to show that even when they're wrong, even when this guy's wrong, he's still protected. He's still protected, even though he's so wrong. You can't be no wronger than what he did, but his privacy is still respected. And the superintendent, because of who he is, his name's everywhere. Mm-hmm. And so, this is going to invite more trouble for him, because let's be honest, this guy, whoever the dad is, he's not an anomaly in this town. Right. He's not the only one who thinks that way. He's not the only one who probably didn't want their child shaking this man's hand. What he was the only person who actually did something about it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not psychic. I don't know what's in people's minds or in hearts, but I'm pretty sure there are people who applauded him for what he did.
Sure.
And there will be likely no consequences for him.
Yep.
This is America, 2024. All right. Let's bring the mood back up and let's head on over to the hookup for our tech tip of the week.
All right. So this week, if you have an Apple Watch and your Apple Watch is on your wrist, of course, but your phone is not, it's in the other room, it's on the bed, or you just can't find it, and you get a phone call and you have your phone and your watch synced to where you can answer the phone on your Apple Watch, my hookup is how to answer the phone call and automatically put the phone call on hold until you find your Apple Watch, because you may or may not want to answer the phone on your Apple Watch because it's speakerphone. You may not want sensitive conversation, whatever the case may be. You want to be able to actually talk on your iPhone, but you don't want to miss the phone call. So again, my hookup for the week is there is a way to answer the phone call on your Apple Watch and simultaneously put the call on hold until you can find your phone. So basically what happens, I can't simulate it because somebody has to call me, but pretend somebody's calling me, my phone is ringing or my phone is on silent, I can't find it, I need to answer the call. Instead of answering the call on your Apple Watch, when the call's coming in, you get the pickup, you get the send the voicemail. If you click the ellipses, it'll give
three
you
dots?
the 3 dots, the ellipses. You'll get the option to answer on iPhone. Once you click that option to answer on iPhone, it'll put the call on hold and the caller will actually hear like a repeated sound. I don't know if it's a little tone. I don't know if it's a jingle or whatever the case may be, but they will hear a repeated sound until you actually scrounge around, find your iPhone, and then on the screen you can click, answer on iPhone, then it'll pick up and you can have that conversation. So that's my quick tip of the week. If you ever need to answer your phone and you only have your Apple Watch, you can put the call on hold by using answer on iPhone option on your Apple Watch, and then you find your phone and you can pick it up.
Cool. Well, folks, that is going to wrap up the show for this week. Thanks for tuning in. Brother Tech, where can the people find you?
Sure, you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BrothaTech.
And you can find me at Tech Savvy Diva all over the internet as well. Again, we definitely want to thank you for tuning into the show. If you want to connect, comment, share, or support our show, you can head on over to snobwestcast.com to get all of the details. And with that, we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Bye, everybody.